Hello, everyone. My name is CJ Ellis, and I'm the Pickerington of. I am the president of Pickerington High School Central's Bring Change to Mind Club in Pickerington, Ohio. I'm so excited to be the host for today's meeting, centering around the Black Lives Matter movement, featuring our special guests, Imadé Nibokun and Bruce Franks Jr. ee-MAH-day is an award-winning writer, mental health advocate, and founder of Depressed While Black, an online community sharing mental health stories from an African-American lens. This community has grown into an in-progress book and a charitable initiative providing Black affirming personal care items to mental health hospital patients. Bruce is a public speaker, activist, gun violence organizer, former politician, and star of the MTV documentary St. Louis Superman. Thank you for joining us, Bruce and ee-MAH-day. I'd also like to thank our friends from Abercrombie & Fitch who are sponsoring our Ohio programs and who joined us for this important conversation today. There's so much going on in the world around us, and we would like to start off this meeting with a brief breathing exercise to help us get centered and present. Next, we will move into the interactive poll and then to our much anticipated question and answer segment of this meeting. I will now hand this over to Liz to facilitate the breathing exercise.
Awesome. Thank you so much, CJ. I am Liz Kaler. I am the Ohio Regional Manager for Bring Change to Mind. And as I said earlier, I'm in Columbus, Ohio. So today we're going to do a very simple breathing exercise. Maybe some of you have done it. It's called the 4-7-8 breath or breathing exercise. This is something that you can do anywhere. So I think that it's not only something that you're going to help relax you into this conversation tonight so you can be fully present, and it's something that you can take with you and do just about anywhere. So what the 4-7-8 breath is, it's an inhale for 4, then you hold your breath for 7, and then you exhale for 8. So when you're inhaling, try to imagine your belly like a balloon, and don't take breaths into your chest, but really breathe into your belly as you're taking these deep breaths. And when you're so you're going to inhale through your nose and you're going to exhale through your mouth. And when you exhale through your mouth, you're just going to make a whoosh sound. All right, so here we go. We're going to do 4 counts. 1 second. So sorry, this is city life. We have a lot of emergency vehicles around here. Okay, so 4-7-8 breath. We're gonna breathe in for 4, we're gonna hold for 7, and we're gonna exhale through 8. We're gonna breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth. Here we go. And there we go. The 4-7-8. I hope that all helped you feel a little more relaxed right this moment, and I hope you remember that and take it with you. Back to you, CJ.
Next, we will be doing our student interactive poll, and I'll be handing it off to Brenda to lead us in the poll.
Awesome, thank you. Thanks, Liz. That really helped bring down my heart rate, so I appreciate that. So now we're going to go into our infamous interactive poll. So if you haven't joined us before, you'll see in the chat I just sent a link, that bit.ly link. If possible, if you could actually type in that link on another device rather than the one that you're using for the Zoom call, it'd be a lot easier. If you do use the same device that you're using for the Zoom call, you'll just have to be kind of flipping back and forth between that tab and my screen that I'm going to share here in a second so you can see the answers. So again, it's bit.ly/BC2M poll. If I could get a thumbs up once you guys have that ready to go. Okay, I'll give it a few more seconds here. I love this new like reaction thumbs up emoji thing. That's very helpful. Okay, so you'll see the first question, as per usual, is for us to get a little insight into see where you guys are calling in from. So we got some California, Arizona, as we heard, Ohio, love that, New York, Arkansas, I'm surprised by that, but that's amazing. Georgia, amazing. Indiana, really great to see. Again, as always, be reminded by you know, the reach of our Bring Change to Mind program across the country. So thanks for doing that. Our next question, we'll go ahead and move forward. It's just a little mental health check-in. How are you guys feeling today? You can go ahead and click the emoji that most represents how you're feeling today. We've got a lot of happy faces, which is really great. Hopefully some of you guys are enjoying your summer vacation. It's a little odd this year, but hopefully you're able to get some time to relax and practice some self-care and self-love. We see some kind of faces. That's okay too. That's the thing with mental health. It's good day, you have good days and bad days, and that's totally fine, totally valid. A lot of sleepy faces. I feel that personally. Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. And so kind of getting into the conversation, the topic at hand, how are you engaging with the current social movements going on all around our country? I know there's probably multiple ways that you are participating and engaging, but I'd love to see kind of some of the major ways. So I see a lot of signing petitions. It's incredible. The social media age has made, you know, participation and engagement so much easier. So it's been great to see those petitions going around, the reposting on social media. I know that's helped so many people educate themselves and educate those around them through just these different social media posts. Organizing or participating in protests, incredible. Donating money or supplies, also wonderful if you have the means to do so. Calling your local politicians, incredible. And service projects, that's really great. Not too much blogging or vlogging, that's all right. That's a certain personality type that does that, but really cool to see the diversity of ways that you guys are participating in the movements that are so important and critical at this juncture in our country. Wonderful, so I'll go ahead and move to the next one. So this is a word cloud. So sometimes we can be kind of down in the dumps with, you know, the news or things going on in different parts of our lives, which is okay. But it's also good to think about ways to be and reasons to be helpful for the future. So in one word, what's giving you hope for the future? Immediately I see action and education as super big words. That's really wonderful. Youth. For me, that's what has really been inspiring me, is seeing especially the Gen Z generation just like being the most engaged generation that we've seen in a long time. And it's just really, really empowering to know that we have this generation that will be leading us forward into a new and better life and country and situation. Empathy, hope, allies, conversation, so much conversation, togetherness, unity, activation, family, open-mindedness. It's huge. Wonderful. This is such a beautiful word cloud, and I hope just reading some of these words has given you a little bit more hope too for our future. So thank you everybody for participating in our poll for this call. And with that, I will turn it back over to CJ.
I have been looking forward to having this conversation for so long. Bruce and Imadé, thanks again for coming and sharing your expertise with us. Now, I'd like you guys to unmute. I'd like to invite you guys to unmute yourselves and share a bit about your background, what you're currently working on, and anything else that you would like to share with us today.
You want to go first, or you want me to knock it off?
You can go ahead.
All right. Well, first, thank y'all for having me. It's amazing being here, especially anything that has to do with young folks. As stated before, I'm Bruce Franks Jr., former elected official, frontline Ferguson activist. I was the subject of an Oscar-nominated documentary called St. Louis Superman. Notice the shirt. I'm also a battle rapper as well. Things that I work on is gun violence prevention from the root cause. I'm still organizing protests. I'm here in Phoenix now, so I'm organizing here, pushing for accountability, fighting against police brutality, police misconduct, as well as inter-community violence, but from a different aspect. And so, yeah, that's what I spend my time doing.
Hey, I'm Imadé. Again, thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate it. I actually got my start in grad school. I just needed to graduate, and I needed a thesis to complete my MFA degree. And I pretty much thought that I had nothing to talk about. I thought that I had a pretty boring life. But then I remembered that I sped on a Los Angeles highway the year before I wanted to die. And it was a wake-up call that I needed to take my mental health seriously. And so Depressed While Black started as my thesis, and then it grew into an online community. And then now I am teaming up with another mental health organization named Beam to promote a campaign called Build a Black Vision, where we support and advocate for the funding of the police and for investment in Black community mental health support. And so there's so many different ways to get involved, and I'm so inspired by the activism and the work that you're doing. And yeah, thank you so much for being a part of this movement. I didn't even know the phrase mental health in high school. I don't think I said the phrase mental health until maybe grad school, maybe. So I'm really proud of the work that you're doing.
Thank you guys for sharing your stories. Now, when people think about racism, they usually don't think about systematic racism. And some people out there might not even know what systematic racism is. So in your own words, how would you guys describe what systematic racism is and its effects on Black people's mental health?
You go ahead.
All right. In my eyes, systematic racism is procedures, policies, things that have been put in place over time to historically keep Black folks, Black and brown people oppressed. And when you talk about generational systematic oppression dating back to slavery, those things impact, those things impact us heavily. To think that now we aren't impacted by the things that happened to us 200, 300, 4 years ago doesn't really make sense to me. We talk about everybody else's oppression and what happened to everybody else over the years, and everybody else has received reparations and all these different things, but Black folks haven't. So when you talk about systematic oppression, it's really about the things that have just happened to us, really from the beginning of time here, and what those policies and procedures and declarations and constitutions actually look like, and what they look like today.
Yeah, for me, I view systemic racism as, interlocking forms of oppression across institutions that target marginalized and underrepresented communities. And, you know, for me, I experienced it in the mental health system. You know, when I had that situation where, you know, I sped on the Los Angeles highway, wanted to die, shortly after I was in front of two counselors in my graduate program, and they told me that I need to basically drop out of school and get a police escort to the hospital. And in that moment, there's all sorts of systemic racism, interlocking forms of oppression that's happening, in the sense that statistics say that by the Treatment Advocacy Center, that people with untreated mental illness are 16 times as likely to be killed by the police. So me having a police escort to the hospital, at that time, I didn't know if I would even survive. I lived in South Central LA at that time, and it was very normal for police helicopters to rattle my house and shine their lights through my house. It was a really scary time for me. And so I faced the fear of the police in that moment. I also faced the fear of losing my health insurance. And Black folks, we're less likely than white people to have insurance, which is very pivotal to our mental health treatment. And then also, you know, my job prospects were tied to my graduate program. And I was really concerned that if I drop out of this graduate program, how am I going to find a way to support myself? The counselors didn't ask about what is my home life like? You know, will I be going to a safe place? Will I have a roof over my head? Where would I be living? And so in these moments, it really is shown that, you know, Black people need a very unique form of mental health treatment that acknowledges the structural racism that we experience, where we are less likely to have insurance. It's harder for us to find jobs, and where we are targets of police violence oftentimes. And so it's really important, not just that we get mental health resources, but that they are specialized to our need, and that it's a form of equity that makes up for historically the lack of resources that we had.
Thank you for sharing your perspectives. I would like to bring up something that W.E.B. Du Bois talks about when he talked about double consciousness in America, and how when you're African American, no matter where you are in society, you will always remember that you're African American, that your skin is Black, and that there are certain things that come along with that in society. And would you guys also agree that that is something that we still feel today, that you will always just know that you are Black, and like that can affect the way you think and the world around you, like how you said it could affect you in the mental health system?
I totally, yeah, I totally agree. America don't never let you stop. You know, they'll never, there's no lack of information about, you know, your Blackness to them, you know, and to everybody else. Every waking moment, from a trip to the grocery store, to taking my kids to school, you know, to walking in spaces that predominantly, you know, mostly don't look like me. I know every day, every minute, every second, that I'm Black, which I'm proud to be. But on the same hand, you know, I don't need that constant reminder. I know I'm Black. You know, I wake up and look in the morning in the mirror every day. And so, yeah, I absolutely agree with that statement.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what makes, you know, culturally competent care so powerful, when we have a therapist that sees us, that sees that we have a different experience in this country because of the way people treat us, because of the color of our skin. It can be really validating. It can be really liberating to have a therapist that you don't have to educate about race issues, a therapist that, you know, already in advance, you know, says, do you have stress about this? Do you have concerns about this? I know that George Floyd incident happened. I know that all these different things. It's so powerful when a therapist jumps ahead of where you're experiencing these problems, so that you don't have to always bring it to the therapy room. They're already bringing it to you. And so, yeah, I would just say that it's so important for therapists to acknowledge that double consciousness, and to help us treat the anxiety and the fear and the stress and the trauma that comes out of witnessing and experiencing just structural racism in this country.
And I'm glad that you brought up the point of how therapists need to understand this double consciousness too. And we do see this double consciousness as a reality when we see certain statistics where we see that structurally in systems, Black people and other people of color are not getting fair treatment as other people. So I do like that point that you brought up. Now, I would also like to hear your guys' journey and how that led you guys to become passionate about mental health. Imadé, I know that you talked about your journey going through it, but just like a general overview of like how that led you to where you are now.
Yeah, the mental hospital system radicalized me. I wasn't trying to be a mental health advocate. You know, like I mentioned before, I don't think I've ever said the phrase mental health until maybe grad school. It just wasn't a part of our lexicon as, you know, young people when I was growing up. We were just trying to like make a really nice MySpace background. Like this was just not our priorities. And so that's why I said I'm so amazed by you. One of the big kind of radicalization moments was shortly after my first suicide attempt. I was in grad school and dealing with the frustration not being able to find a job. And I was told to go to this really great mental hospital. And I was told it's award-winning and it's really great. And when I got there, it was really terrifying and it was really scary. And what I noticed is that there was a hierarchy in this hospital where Black folks were either being chemically restrained, which is when you're given so much medication that you can't advocate for yourself. You're drooling, you're slurring your words. I saw Black people being chemically restrained, and I saw them being physically restrained. One of the first nights that I was there, a young Black man was arrested at a mental hospital, and he was just complaining about the stuff I complain about. You know, I hate it here, the food sucks, you know, I want to go home. Like, I want to go home too, you know. So I really saw Black people being policed in these places, and I wanted to stand up and say, this isn't right, this isn't therapeutic, this doesn't make me better. And as a result of that advocacy, I got physically restrained and I got thrown into an isolation room, which is kind of like a solitary confinement for mental hospitals. And so their reaction to my advocacy was basically punishment. And I wanted something better for my people. I didn't want to go to places where I was scared to go to fall asleep. I wanted to be in a place that felt like home, that was in my community so that my loved ones can visit me and not have an issue. I wanted a place where I was surrounded by, therapists of color that look like me and that understand that double consciousness and that culture. And so a lot of my advocacy came from what I was not seeing and what I wanted to see, the future that I wanted to create for my people. And so I had to learn how to advocate because, like I mentioned before, I was not strategic in the beginning. When I was in the mental hospital and I was upset, I went to the door, the locked door. I don't know what I was doing. I went to the locked door and I just turned the knob. I was like, I want to get out of here. And I don't know what I was thinking because I'm like, it's a locked psychiatric floor. It's not going to open. And so I went from, kind of having a really passionate, but not really strategic advocacy to moving to this place now where, I'm working with Beam. We have policy demands. We're building a committee of clinicians and people with lived experiences to dismantle racism in the mental hospital system. So advocacy is a journey. It is a growth, there's words that I used to say that were stigmatizing that I don't really say anymore. There are things that I would, graphics that I would use that aren't really sensitive that I'm not using anymore. And so I just would encourage you guys that advocacy is a journey. We're constantly evolving, and don't be hard on yourself if maybe in the beginning it doesn't look like what you think it should look like. I've been doing this for about 6 years and I feel like I'm just beginning. And so I would just say, be easy on yourself and celebrate your advocacy, even if it's in its, earliest stages.
thank you for your advocacy too. I just wanted to put that out there, give you flowers. So I can't speak for other folks, but I know in the Black community, I'm 36, and we don't talk about mental health. Growing up, we didn't talk about mental health. It was stigmatized. It was, you were thought to be all these bad things if you even thought about therapy, right? I went to a school. I was bussed out of the hood to a predominantly white school, and I would come home and talk to my neighborhood and be like, hey, my friends, they go to counseling, they go to, and they would tell me that's something that white folks do, And so my brother was killed when I was 6 years old, and he was 9. And from that point to now, I've been to over 200 funerals. I've witnessed a lot of gun violence in my life. Even my best friend and god brother, 2 years ago, being killed. My godson is 16, being killed a couple months after that. I didn't know what I was dealing with. I didn't know what anxiety, depression, survivor's guilt. I didn't know what these things were. And as I served in the House of Representatives and I started to learn more about mental health, even still not knowing what I was dealing with, I started to work a lot on awareness, because I felt like in my community, we couldn't fix or start to treat things that we didn't even want to have a conversation about. So it's first for us, for me, it was about having that conversation and letting folks know, hey, it's okay to have these conversations. It's okay not to be okay. Like, let's talk about it. And so December 2018, after losing my best friend, who's like my brother, after losing my godson, who was 16, I saw his body in the driveway, full of bullet holes. I realized that I had been fighting for a lot of folks and saving a lot of lives and a lot of young people, but I wasn't saving the ones that was closest to me, and it impacted me heavily. In December of 2018, I had a suicide attempt. And this entire time they have been shooting a video, the documentary about me. And I tell people all the time that the movie saved my life, but the director saved my life as well, because she texted me and said, hey, I'm just checking on you. I know things been rough for you. How you feeling? And I said, for the first time ever, I said, I'm not okay. And she sent me a copy of the video, and I watched it, and the opening scene was me and my son. And I quickly realized, my job, what I need to do, why I need to be here, why life is important, why I'm important, why, all of this just makes sense. I left St. Louis and came to Phoenix, and it's the best decision I ever made, because now I'm healthier than I've ever been. I look in the mirror and I recognize myself every day. So it's an amazing feeling, on that road to just healing and coping, and figuring out the things that make you whole and keep you going every day.
Thank you guys for sharing your stories and just letting people out there know that this journey for activism and speaking up about things in society is just a journey, and it's not always going to be easy and nice, but something that will be worth it in the end. Now, during this time of everything that's going on right now, I've been attending protests and having conversations about systematic racism. So I would like to know, what are your guys' suggestions for the people out there to do to make lasting change, or to help make lasting change with everything that's going on right now?
If you want me to go first? Okay. Martin Luther King said, there comes a time when you do something not because it's political, not because it's popular, not because it's safe, but because your conscience tells you it's right. I've kind of lived by that. And since 2014, August 9, 2014 changed my life. Michael Brown was killed, and I took to the streets, and I was in the streets for 100 days with all my other comrades. And after that, we had the Stockley protest. So, and not to mention, you know, us advocating, and Tamir Rice and Freddie Gray and so many others, right? And so this idea that when your conscience tells you it's right, I think what people can do, especially young people, and all the young people that's here right now, that is within the sound of my voice, let me tell y'all something. Y'all are amazing. Y'all are the smartest generation that we've ever had. Y'all the most amazing generation. Y'all the most fearless generation that we've ever had. Do not let anybody tell you anything different. These older folks, including folks my age, will tell you, wait your turn, it's not your time. If they tell you to wait your turn, it's probably your turn. Don't wait for the baton to be passed. Sometimes you got to snatch it. Don't wait for that torch to be passed, because you got to snatch it while it's still lit. What will happen is, all too often and I include I'm not me, but forget it. I'll include myself with the older folks. Sometimes we will hold that torch until the day we die and wait until the light is gone and all the kerosene is gone. And now y'all have to rebuild that village. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to be trial and error. When they say it takes a village to raise a community, it takes a village to do anything, all too often our younger generations don't know what that village looks like. So nobody can come after you've built your village, after you survived in your village, after you've made your village what it needs to be in your eyes. Nobody can tell you that it's wrong. So do whatever it is you all feel the need to do in order to push forward, in order to fight, in order to uplift your voices. You do that and you keep fighting. I'm so inspired by the young people when I'm out here at these protests and I see these young folks that are, I mean, they are fearless. And I know I'm fearless, but to see them, it's just, it gives me this whole different energy. Like, I know we okay. I'm more than confident that, may the universe keep me here as long as I need to be. But if tomorrow I check out, I can check out knowing that we have a generation of fighters that is not going to give up, that's going to fight at all costs. And at the end of the day, y'all, we dying. So this idea of what safety looks like, this idea of what the proper way to do things looks, throw that out the window. And just you keep fighting, y'all, because I'm sorry, I could go on all day, but y'all young people are amazing. Just fight at all costs like y'all been doing. I believe in y'all.
Wow, that's powerful, man. I just co-sign everything Bruce said. I don't even feel like talking. I feel like Bruce said everything. But, I just say, my day job, I work at the Southern Coalition for Social Justice. And we follow the leadership of students. Everything that we do, we try to center student activists and student organizers. And so I'm working on a police-free schools campaign in Wake County. And the whole campaign is led by students. They formed the Wake County Black Student Coalition on their own, a coalition of Black students in their county. They're organizing protests. They're going to the school board building and announcing their demands. I mean, they're just doing an amazing job. And so, yeah, like at this moment, at this time, like we're following your leadership. You decide what you want this movement to look like and how it wanted to be shaped. And yeah, I'm just so proud of you guys. I think what you're doing is it's never been done before. I think, many of people, I feel like in my generation, I'm a millennial. I feel like in some ways that we kind of like, we waited so long to do stuff, I feel like. And I feel like in some ways as well that, I don't know, for me, I guess I'll say for myself, I feel like I waited too long. I waited until it happened to me to do something. And what I really appreciate about this generation is some of them, they never had any type of police brutality before, but it was enough to witness it, to do something about it. And I don't know, I'm just so proud of you guys. And I think, as well, some folks may not be able-bodied enough to go to a protest, as well as for myself, in the beginning, when I started advocating, I wasn't well enough to do anything more than, tweeting. But that is so powerful. That's basically where Depressed While Black started for me, is me just saying, hey, this is my story. This is my lived experience. This is what's going on. Is there anybody else here who feels like this? And then I built a community around that. So I would just encourage you, even if there's like nothing there, if you feel like you have a cause or an issue, you feel like nobody in your community is really addressing it, if you start speaking your story and sharing your story, you can find that community. People will start echoing and saying, yeah, I went through that too. And so I just encourage folks, if you're not able to go to protest, you may have mental health challenges, panic attack issues, I get it. There's so many different ways that you can start just where you are and build community, even if you don't leave the house.
Thank you, guys. I really like the fact that you highlighted how there are other ways to protest besides going out there physically on the streets to protest, because I know we have our viewers out there that are introverts and like to stay inside and don't really like to go out. So just know that if you're an introvert, that doesn't mean that you can't do anything. There are very other passive ways to get active that will still make a change and that will further this agenda that we're trying to push for equality for everyone. Now, with everything that's going on right now with COVID, the media, and the social movements, how are you guys taking care of yourselves in this time?
You can go ahead.
Okay, cool. I'm just following your lead. You say go, I'm gonna go. Wait, I am. It's rough for, and I can speak for myself. I deal with severe anxiety, and so being in the house, and I'm a person that's always on the move. I kind of gotta move. I kind of gotta keep my mind going. It's been rough. I think the good part is I've surrounded myself with love and family, and my kids. My kids are amazing. They the greatest thing that ever happened to this earth. I don't care what nobody say. And my son, like, I've become this master at Fortnite. I've never even played video games, but now that's what we do all day. And so, but I've been able to tap into my art. I've been able to write more. I've been able to just be more creative. I moved into a particular area where I'm from the hood. I'm from St. Louis. I've never seen stars until 2 weeks ago. I looked up in the sky. I was outside sitting in my driveway, and I cried real tears because I'm like, it's stars. Like, those are real. Like, there's all the stuff. Is that the Big Dipper? Like, is that really, like, trying to figure it out? And so it's been also like eye-opening, kind of noticing the things that are around you. I noticed the peace. I noticed the air. I noticed the way the wind blows and what the wind sounds like, and the different insects and birds. Like, it's just stuff that I wasn't really privy to coming from where I come from. So it's been eye-opening. It's been relaxing, and given the circumstance, given everything that's going on, life has been okay, except for 2020 just keeps happening. Like, I want a refund on 2020 ASAP. Straight up.
Yeah, I do. I agree. There is a lot of different, self-care, community care things I was doing to try to get myself on track, with my mental health. I was, going to support group like twice a week. I was starting a class so I can learn how to be a peer support counselor. I was just doing a bunch of stuff, and then the pandemic happened, and I was just like in the house. And I had to grieve the loss of, those things that, gave me a will to live and made me want to be out and about. I had to really grieve the loss of that. And then I had to also radically accept that things are different, that things aren't the way that they are, and I can't force them to be anything other than what it is. And that took a process. So, I was out in nature just trying to, radically accept this is different. Nature really helped me. I go out on my mom's deck. It's really good. I also like learning to play guitar. I'm terrible, but it's a distraction and I can't check my phone during it. So I like that. I'm taking a therapy class called it's Dialectical Behavioral Therapy. It's for people who deal with borderline personality disorder, but it can be for basically anybody that needs help regulating their emotions and being mindful and how to interact with people. And I've been taking that class every week since January. And it's really been helping me build skills so that when I do get really depressed, I do things that are going to help me live and going to help me thrive instead of things that are self-harming. And I think another thing that I've been doing is going on a lot of like healing spaces. Beam has healing spaces. I believe Ethel's Club does. And there's emotional emancipation circles to help us process racial trauma. So there's a lot of different healing circles that are offered virtually now that are really supportive. And another thing that I help me with is contributing to other mental health campaigns and platforms. I recently donated to the Okra Project. It's a project for Black trans folks who need therapy. They have a Nina Pop and a Tony McDade mental health recovery fund. And so, yeah, making sure that I don't just support and uplift my platform, but that I support and uplift others, especially Black trans folks who are experiencing so much violence right now. We need to have all hands on deck and support them. So contributing has been something that's been helping me out as well.
You guys have provided some amazing ways to get through this time, and I hope that the viewers out there took something from this. There are many things you can do. Bruce mentioned how he spends time with his family, and you guys can spend time with your family, and family doesn't always have to be by blood. Family could be one of your really close friends. Family could be your dog. Like, just find that person, you know, that person can help you get through things. And also finding new ways of expression. Those are other really good ways to get through hard times. So just know there's something out there for everybody, and that we will all get through this together. Now, I want to make sure we have time for a question and answer service, so I'm going to switch over to that now. So we have some pre-submitted questions that came through, so I'll be inviting students to come off and unmute themselves. So first we have Dorcas from New York. Would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question? Dorcas. Sorry if I said it wrong. Okay. Well, I'll ask the question for them. So Dorcas from New York asked, what sparks motivation for your writing for ee-MAH-day?
You know, I think most of it is just wanting to help people. I actually got started, so I grew up in a really like religious household. I wasn't allowed to listen to secular music, so I grew up on something rebellious called Christian hip hop. And that was one of my first blog posts was about Christian hip hop. And it got like a huge response. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I think I can make an impact with my words more than the current job that I was doing. And so I guess what inspires me is helping people, wanting to make sure people feel seen and feel heard and feel like they're not alone. That's something that's really important to me. So if there is an issue or a problem, or feel like my people are hurting, it's like I want to write about it. I want my writing to heal people and be a bridge from their emotions to the words that are on the page.
That's really inspiring. Next we have a question from Ashley LaSalle from from Brooklet, Georgia. Would you like to ask your question?
Yes, I would. My question is, I go to a fairly ignorant school, so I was wondering how I could maybe advocate to them and like trying to explain to them, I guess, everything that goes on in our lives and everything like that, and trying to explain systematic racism and just racism as a whole, and without feeling I guess just defeated, because I feel defeated a lot when I'm trying to talk to someone, because I'll find that like they'll kind of relapse in a sense the next day or the next week, or I'll feel like kind of annoyed with myself because I'm like, oh, I only got to one person today. How come not everyone is listening to me rather than just a few people?
I can tackle that. So my grandma said, grandma always said, you might be the only Bible somebody reads, right? And you might be that person that has to deliver that message. When I was serving in the house, I served with a lot of members that was ideally, we didn't see eye to eye. And we weren't the same party and all of these different things. Those conversations are never gonna be one and done. It's gonna take a couple times, and it's gonna take some persistence, and it will get defeating. Real quick, I'll tell you a real quick story. So a white man who was a different party than me in the House of Representatives, he said, look, I'm not Black. I don't know what you go through. And because I'm not Black, I don't have to understand, and I'm not gonna understand what you go through. I said, okay. You got kids? He said, yeah. I said, were you there when your kids were born? He said, absolutely. I said, well, your wife, was she in pain? He said, yeah, she was in pain. I said, well, she couldn't have been in pain. He said, how you gonna tell me I was there? I said, she couldn't have been in pain. He said, she was. I said, well, how do you know she was in pain? He said, I heard her crying. I felt it. I saw her tears. I said, so you saw her tears, you heard her crying, but you didn't have to be pregnant or go through labor to feel it. And he said, oh, I got you. And from that point on, he was with me. Now, it's not going to happen all the time, right? But just finding those ways to reach people, finding those ways to that's going to be okay for you, though, because it can get tiresome. It can get tiresome and it can get heavy. But just being persistent and finding ways to continue to communicate with people to get them to, to try to get them to understand. But it is heavy and it is a long road. So I ain't going to even lie to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, I'm no expert when it comes to that stuff, but the internet so much information for us to use, and there is a lot of information on systematic racism that's like broken really nicely for people who've never heard of it before. So maybe sometimes when you are trying to educate other people, you could do it passively by just like sending them a website or just telling them about like what you've heard on this website. So things that like necessarily aren't like all dependent on you to explain, so that you have like some other things to back you up too. Now, we have another question from Monique Jarvis from New York. Would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question? Monique Jarvis from New York. Okay, I'll ask her question for her. So Monique's question is, how do we create entry points for Black Lives Matter, racial equality, and people of color-centered curriculum in schools that exhibit white fragility and are white-centered? So the question I'm guessing is asking like, how can we like further the education system to talk about things that are important to what's going on right now?
I think so when you think about the educational system, when you think about curriculum and how that curriculum is set forth, you got to go to who is setting forth that curriculum. So there has to be a bigger demand from a community of folks, right? And not just folks that look like us, folks that understand, folks that are in the fight, allies, so on and so forth. There has to be a concerted effort to push so that the powers that be and those folks who create the curriculum, the school boards and the state representatives and the city councils and all of the folks who are in these places of power, there has to be this push, because what they're going to see is they're going to see taxpayers, they're going to see votes, and when it's a majority, then they're more keen to, which is a problem within itself. But when it's a majority, they're more keen to make that change. And so we got to organize. We got to organize, and that's what we have to push for, and it has to be a demand. And we're gonna have to put some action behind it, because they're not just gonna do it on their own.
Yeah, I agree as well. You know, I definitely defer to the true organizers and activists, but yeah, I would just definitely say find your tribe, find your support system that will share the burden of advocacy with you, because advocacy can be so draining. And I would say, you know, find educators that are going to back you up. You know, where are your allies in that school? And then what are some allies in the community? You know, are there, you know, African American study teachers at maybe a community college or a college in the area that you can say, hey, I would like to see your syllabus. Like, I want to use this as a way to advocate for the curriculum that I want in my school. You know, I think there's so many different ways to go about it, but I would definitely say just make sure you have that support system, make sure that you find those allies so that you're not fighting by yourself.
Thank you, guys. And lastly, we have a question from Camille from Ohio. Would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question? Okay, I'll ask the question. So Camille's question is, let's see, is there anything that people can do to get involved with Depressed While Black?
Well, thank you for even asking that. I really appreciate it. Yeah, there's a lot of different things you can do right now. You can donate, or you don't have to donate. You're young. You can share the donation link. So basically, I have a campaign with Beam, and we are pushing to build a new Black vision for mental health. You can go to beam.community/Black vision. Again, that's beam.community/Black vision, and you can share the demands that we have. You can donate, and you can also sign up to join a committee that we're creating to dismantle systemic racism in the mental hospital system, in the mental health system as well. You can go to depressedwhileblack.com. That's where I have videos of my talks. You can share them as well. You can, if you want to buy a t-shirt, I have a Depressed While Black t-shirt. You can buy that or tell folks to buy it and kind of dispel that stigma in that way. But yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, just Depressed While Black, and yeah.
Now we have about 5 minutes left with you. So Bruce and Imadé, is there anything else that you would like to say before we close tonight?
I'll let Bruce go first.
I would just like to say, just kind of reiterate some of the things that I said about young folks. Y'all are truly amazing, man. I don't think y'all hear it enough. And I don't think y'all hear it enough from us. And you know, I'm just so inspired by y'all. And I think that you guys are amazing. You guys are doing the work already. As Imadé said, I didn't start doing this till I was 30. Right? I had to get hit upside the head to figure it out. And y'all smart enough to be like, okay, enough people got hit upside the head, and I seen them get hit upside the head. So let me start a little earlier. So I really appreciate y'all. Just don't think anything that you are doing is not important and that it's not insignificant. It's small. Don't think any of that. Anything that you are doing to push forward for change is amazing and well needed. The power at you guys' hands, at you all's hands, you know, at the realm of technology and the internet. And I mean, you all are masters at that. So utilize. Everybody's not made for the front lines. Everybody's not made for, you know, the radical protest and whatever way you do it. Just keep doing it, and just know that even when it gets discouraging, there are people out there like me who look to you all, who are inspired by you all, and who have all the confidence in the world that y'all gonna be the superheroes that we need to really spark this change. Hamilton is my favorite play. And in Hamilton, they say, my favorite musical, and he said that building a legacy is like planting a seed in a garden you'll never get to see grow. And I've always said that building a legacy is fighting a battle in a war where you'll never get to see the outcome. I've been fighting this battle. I'm willing to die for Black lives. And if I do, and if this happens, I know for a fact that y'all gonna keep it going, and just have that same notion that even if you don't get to see that happen, even if you don't get to see that it start to change, just have that, just have that in you, that it will change one day. Appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I don't know y'all, but I still love y'all. And keep going, I promise. Y'all gonna win. We gonna win.
That's right. I mean, I echo all of that. You are the experts of your own experiences, and, don't shy from that. You are the experts of your experiences. We can't tell you what it's like to go to school in this time, during the pandemic, during COVID, during this economic crisis, during police brutality that's happening. You are the experts of your experiences, and your mental health deserves to be centered. And I just want to encourage that as well, that it's okay to rest. Rest is resistance. As a Black person, we did not have any ownership over our bodies historically. So when we take ownership of our bodies and we rest and we disengage from capitalism and productivity, that is revolutionary. And so I just want to encourage you as well that you are resisting even in your rest and your recharging, in that it's not any less important than your activism and what you may do on the streets. I just really want to also encourage you is that, be careful, be aware of your triggers. Being active and doing activism work, it can be really triggering. And so be aware if you're reliving any trauma. Make sure that those breathing exercises that we did, make sure you find ways to kind of stay in your body and be aware of what's going on. For me, was just reactive. I didn't realize I needed to prioritize my mental health until I hit rock bottom. And you guys are ahead of the curve. And so I was really encourage you, make sure you're preventative in your approach to mental health. Don't just wait till you burn out like me and like a lot of older folks. We just burn out and then we're like, oh, we gotta do something. Make sure that you are preventative and that you're ahead of the curve. And like I said again, you guys are amazing, amazing, amazing people. Thank you so much for fighting for us. Thank you so much. You can go to places that I may not be able to go to as an older person. And I just want to appreciate the way that you make your friends feel safe in talking about mental health. I appreciate the way that you make, your fellow peers and school feel safe. And I just thank you so much for everything that you are doing. You are amazing, and I'm so proud of you.
I would just like to thank Bruce and ee-MAH-day for being here today. We greatly appreciate you guys being here. I would also like to thank everybody out there who's here too. I'm glad that everybody who's in here wants to participate in this conversation and is doing something for change. And that really means a lot to me. And I think that'll really mean a lot to a lot of people as we progress through this movement that's going on right now.